FYC the show, welcome. Appreciate you joining us. We have here
Vinnybronco.
All right, Just Heck tuning in, aka Neo. Today we have a special episode for us. As I said before, at Repercussion, I wanted to get you guys familiar with at Vinnybronco. I know he's a staple in the community. I know he's always been the one that I've known forever. He's got like 1,000 people on his friends list. You know what I'm saying? And he's got like 2 accounts that are closed on mine that are his. Like he's always down to help people. He's always like he was the main reason I came to. He was the first person I came to when, you know, we were thinking about doing a show, or when I was like, yo, you know what? I think you should do a show. And he was like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, well, this is why I think you should do the show. And then, you know, after a couple of toxic drinks at a bar, you know.
We're not going to name
nobody
to go there.
You know, he caved in. You know, it was a couple of toxic Long Island iced tea.
I think he sprinkled something in mine.
Definitely Rufalin. Anyhow.
This is where we are, baby.
Right? He's not pregnant. Hey.
I'm just fat.
Anyhow, at Vinnybronco, welcome to the show. How you feeling today?
Feeling good. I'm feeling good.
All right, brother. So, before we begin, just want to ask you a couple questions, and you know, just to give some insight to, you know, people know who you are on this side. They always see you on the camera, you know, just to get a little bit more insight.
Gotcha.
So, your first system, what was it?
Nintendo,
okay.
You know, yeah, the old school first Nintendo.
Open
up the door, put it in, push it down. It don't work. You pop it out, push it in a little bit. It's real slow. It don't work. You put it in the freezer. Anybody did the freezer trick? I don't even know if it worked. I did the freezer trick. My mother came home, grocery shopping one time, found mad cartridges in the refrigerator. She was dumb. She was just upset. Like, she was mad. She's like, what the? Yeah, but they worked.
Oh my God, the cartridge in the freezer trick.
Yeah, I got about that one.
I got put on punishment for doing that. It was just one, mind you.
Oh, I had like 10 in there, and she was gonna throw them all away. I ran in. I was like, no. Ran back in the room.
Oh man.
Checked them. It was good.
Right. What was your favorite game for that system?
For the Nintendo?
Yeah.
I'll probably have to say Zelda.
Which one? 1 or 2?
The first one, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The stupid over the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I really enjoyed that game. I probably played it the most out of any game on the Nintendo.
Okay.
A lot of people don't remember, but when that game came out, it was $50.
Really?
Yes.
I never owned it.
My mother, by the way, I love her so much, never bought me a video game.
Wow.
So when that game came out, I had to do what I had to do to get that game.
You were stripping?
No. I wasn't the best person to be friends with. Went over to somebody's house and they lost their Zelda copy, and I gained the Zelda copy. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Hypothetically speaking.
I don't condone it in any way, but
Hey, you had it. Hey, listen, memories are memories.
I did what I had to do. I enjoyed the game.
All right.
I mean, he would have got it back, but he moved.
Okay. Okay. Hey.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Hey, I hope not. I hope not.
He moved.
Yeah, he just moved.
And then okay, this is mine now.
This is mine. How long did you have it? How long did you have it?
Like 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
Yes. So when people complain about, like, I used to work at a game store, and people would come in and be like, $60 for a PlayStation 3 game? I would laugh to myself thinking back that Zelda cost $50 when it came out.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Back then,
like,
forget about it. There was nothing like it, though. It was nothing.
It was like,
it's one of the game changers.
But a lot of the Nintendo games were $50 when they came out. And it was funny that $60, 20 years later, is a big deal.
Oh, that's just people being cheap.
Basically, yeah.
What would you say was your favorite system of all time? Like,
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. Okay. Is it Tell us the story. Tell us the story. I don't even want to go
Fantasy
into.
Star Online, I was
Right.
addicted to it.
Right.
I played it so much. I don't know if you, well, I know you remember the Game
Yes, of
Shark. I
course,
don't know if
of
you
course.
guys remember the Game Shark.
Right.
But the Game Shark was like a little thing you put inside and you can like get codes for the different games. So I played Fantasy Star so much that at one point I created codes using my Game Shark so I could do things on the game that weren't supposed to be done. One of my best hacks that I did, basically, it was just a hack, was I had a character where his max health was 0.
Right.
So his life,
Couldn't
he always
die.
said 0 out of 0 at all times. So obviously he can't die.
Right.
So people would play and they would create characters that could PK,
Right.
which is player killer, so they can kill other players where they would use their heal and instead of it healing people, it would do like
Damage.
60,000 damage. But their health would be like 90,000.
Right.
So they would be able to survive but the other person would die.
Oh,
But because my health was 0,
didn't work.
didn't do anything to me.
Right.
And then when I did heal with this character, the numbers would glitch out and everybody would die no matter what their health was,
Right.
except for me.
Yeah.
It was funny because I actually made the health first, like the healing thing, but every time I healed, I died. So then I tried to edit my health bar so I can make it higher
Right.
than 90,999. Yeah. Yeah, so I tried to make it higher and it ended up just zeroing it out. But I was still alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
You were doing hex editing. You didn't even know that.
I
at the
did
time.
not
Yeah,
know that.
You were doing
I
hex
still
editing.
don't know how I was doing
Yeah.
it, but
no, because that's what Game Shark was.
Yeah.
It was. And actually, I figured that out because I had a Game Shark. I had one back with Nintendo, but it was called, I forget what it was called. It wasn't called Game Shark.
Game Genie. Yeah,
Yes,
I had
it
the
was
Game Genie too.
Yeah, I had the Game Genie. Thank you. At Repercussion. And yeah.
Speaking of which, do you remember the one where on the PlayStation 1 you would open up that little latch
Yes,
on the back,
yeah.
you stick that box on and had the little switch on the side? I still got it.
Wow.
I still got my PlayStation 1 and it still works.
You know what you would get for that on eBay, by the way, brother?
But I'm a
yeah.
collector.
No,
so
I know.
yeah,
I'm
it's
just
not
saying
going
that.
nowhere.
Forget about it. That's still in demand, by the way. Believe it or
I
not.
saw a few years ago. I actually saw one of my games, Ogre Tactics. I saw that on eBay. It's probably cheaper now because you can get it on the emulator now. But it was like $400 or $500, and I'm like, yo, this game is super old.
It's
For a
probably the same
system
price
that-
because a lot of people don't know about that stuff. So yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So, if you had to if you had to pick a system that disappointed you the most, well, which one would it be?
Sega Saturn.
Sega Saturn.
I didn't even own a Sega Saturn, but I was so disappointed. I was glad that I didn't own one.
My uncle had it, so I saw it. I was like, yeah.
A friend of mine had it. Shout out to Touche. He had it. I went to his house. We played a game called Knights,
Okay, yeah, I
which
remember
was
that.
actually a little bit of fun.
Right.
But I still was disappointed with the list of games they had. But I understand why it was like that. It wasn't Sega's fault completely because of the Dreamcast.
Right.
They lost a lot of support from developers because it was so easily hacked that
Right.
the developers weren't making money. So they lost a lot of support. This is why they took the Dreamcast off and they pushed the Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
So I know the behind story. So
Yeah.
and that's why the Sega Saturn didn't do well or didn't have a lot of good games.
That was sad too because
Yeah.
I was working at the school across from your house. This is before I knew you. This was like back in 2000.
What is it? IS
one.
154
But
now?
it was CS 154 at the time.
Whatever it is.
Shout out to that. And I was working there in the after school program, and this kid came up to me. I don't know if he was on drugs or something, but he's like, "Yo, I'm selling my Dreamcast," and I'm like, "Why? Like why?" He goes, "Oh, I'm trying to go visit this girl." I said, "All right, well, how much you selling for?" He's like, $30. I was like, it's like, what? Like, I don't know if I don't know what he's visiting. I think he might go buy drugs or something from her. I don't know. And he literally was like, yo.
Depending on the year, it sounds about right for that neighborhood.
So, no, he lived in the Bronx. But I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Like I said,
so yeah.
to the neighborhood you was working in.
So he
goes,
yo, and I'm like, what are you giving me with it? He goes, I give you 2 joysticks, a memory pack, and 2 games. And I'm like, for $30. I said, yo, bro, this game better work, bro. Like, if I go home and this don't work. He goes, no, I swear. So I was like, yeah, I gave him next day. I gave him $40. I said, here, because brought it home, was playing it, Fantasy Star was one of the games that he gave me. So it was funny that you
said
that.
On that game.
Yeah, I never went online with it though.
Oh.
I never went online because I wasn't there with it yet, and
So,
you know what I'm saying.
I believe I forced you to go online.
Yeah, you did, or with the Ethernet port actually. But I had a grandmother who was still with like with the dial up and stuff, and I wasn't trying to argue with that. Plus, I was barely home at that time. Yeah.
So I grew up poor. I didn't have internet. So when I got my Dreamcast, I used to go to my sister's house.
Yeah.
Shout out to Denise. I used to babysit her kids.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would go over there and I would unplug the phone because, you know, if you get a phone call, you get disconnected. So I would unplug the phone and just be playing. The kids would be home. You did your homework?
Kids would have to fend for themselves.
Y'all hungry? There's food in the refrigerator. I was OD playing that game.
Yo, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I played my Dreamcast so much, I broke two of them. The first one I broke, it overheated.
Right.
So I was playing it, and then I got up and I went to go to the kitchen to get something to drink, and I come back, and it was off.
Right.
So I'm like, who the fuck was touching? I was like, who was touching my stuff? So I go to turn it back on, and it, you know, how you could tell that the power button whether it was on or off.
Yeah,
so the power button was on, and I was like, what happened? So I pressed it again, and it flickered on and went right back off.
Oh wow.
So I opened it up. I melted the motor.
Oh my God, you played it that much that you.
I melted the motor, like it was pieces of metal melted around, and it just wouldn't run.
Right.
So I didn't throw it away. I stashed it. Got another one. Like not too long after that, got another one. Hooked that up. Was playing that one. Played that one so much that I cracked the lens.
Jesus Christ.
Like the lens inside was cracked.
That
like
it got hot.
You could see that it was cracked.
It
Yeah,
got hot.
The glass got hot and then just
snapped. Yeah.
So then I took the one with the broken motor. I took the lens out and put it in the other one. Yeah, I was not stopping playing this game. Like I was really dedicated to playing this one game. Put the lens in there and went right back into it. And then it broke again, and I just gave up.
Okay.
I gutted it. Like I took everything out, and I started using the shell of the Dreamcast as a storage unit. It's actually on the top shelf of my closet right now.
Wow.
I still have it. Just the shell, not the insides, because they were done. I killed my Dreamcast.
That's crazy. So, from hearing the types of games that you like, I don't want to assume
RPGs. If we're talking about my favorite, RPGs is what got me into the gaming world, and it kept me going strong. There were times when there was a shortage on RPGs. Like the PS3 was kind of short on RPGs compared to the PS2. The PS2 had way too many RPGs. There's probably still RPGs I haven't played.
Cloud, Wild Arms, Breath of Fire.
I got ones that people would forget, like Rogue Galaxy.
Rogue Galaxy.
That was a really
good one.
Too many
coming out. They just every other week they had
Then the Shin Megami series got all of them.
Wow.
All of them worth money. I got the whole collection. The Dot Hack series got all of them. The whole collection. I even got the GU series too. I got both. Then I got the GU digital.
Didn't we put those online? Didn't we put pictures of those online?
Yeah. No.
Not those.
Not the Dot Hacks or the Shin. It was the Final Fantasies that I posted up.
Got you.
Yeah. We can always do more pictures because I got a bookshelf.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I
got so many discs that I literally stopped buying discs because I don't got nowhere to put them. So for the PS4, I'm all digital.
Right, without a fact. Yeah, I mean, you made fun of me. You was like, "This, I'm gonna buy this." I was like, "What's wrong with that?" And then, literally, it was like, slowly but surely. Now it's like, I look at this and I'm like, what am I gonna do with that?
I actually just looked at my my PlayStation games. I have 218 digital games that I paid for. Because I don't really, I don't remember to download the free ones. I don't pay attention to them. I just don't.
I remember.
He tries to remind me. I think I downloaded maybe 2 or 3 free games, and it's mostly because they want to stream them. That's why I downloaded them.
Right. So RPGs.
Definitely.
I know what your favorite one is, but tell the world and say why.
All right. So if we missed episode 1.
Right.
Final Fantasy VI by far is my favorite Final Fantasy. I played it when it was Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo. Yeah, old. That was when I first played it. It was Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy 1 was for the Nintendo, Final Fantasy 2 and 3 were for the Super Nintendo. I played 1, 2, and 3, which turned out to be 4, 5, and 6, but we don't really need to go into conversations about that. So we're going to stick with it being 6. Yeah. So 6 was my favorite. I love the story behind it. I love the fact that, I love the cast of characters. Like, they were all different. It was like a huge cast. My biggest love of the game, though, is the final boss, is the enemy. Kefka was a beast. He starts off and he works for the Emperor, and it looks like the Emperor's trying to take over the world and try to rule magic and all this other stuff. But behind the scenes, Kefka is telling the Emperor what to do. So while he's telling him what to do, and he's doing it, it makes the Emperor look like the bad guy. When you get to a certain part in the game, there's a warning where they basically tell the Emperor, if you touch these statues, it's going to cause a calamity that's going to destroy the world. And Emperor's like, okay, we're not going to mess with that. We got enough power or whatever. Kefka, on the other hand, is like, nah, stabs him, laughs, and then he decides he's going to push it just to see what happens.
Oh, that's right. He moves them out because not that he couldn't touch him, but you had to move them out of
alignment.
Right.
So he pushed them out of alignment, knowing that the world would be destroyed.
Right.
After he destroyed the world, he built a tower. He lived on the top floor, and anybody want to challenge him was welcome to it. That's just how he lived.
You had to fight your way through super monsters. And,
basically, everybody. They took Zozo and they turned it into the tower. And Zozo was a town full of criminals, and like while you're in there, you'll be fighting the whole way. So he took that building and built his tower, and he lived on the top floor. So the bad guys were still in there. One of my favorite scenes in that game with him is him and 2 soldiers from the Empire are walking in the desert. And he looks down and he's like, there's sand on my boots. Mind you, he's in the desert. The 2 soldiers stop what they're doing, they apologize, and they start wiping the sand off of his boots. How afraid of somebody do you have to be to walk in the desert and wipe sand off their boots? Like, that's how much of a presence he had.
Definitely.
Like, his charisma was ridiculous. Like, everything about his laugh was ridiculous. That's my new ringtone. People at work be like, what the hell is that?
You hear it at the end of every show, too. I remember, I think what I felt was, it's definitely in my top 5 or my top 4. I remember what impressed me about it was the consequence machine built within it. So you definitely had this plethora of different characters and different identities and stuff, and they all had their own. And I'm pretty sure that game was the first to kind of start that.
Probably.
But you had, but there was like also there were moments where like if you didn't save the ninja when the ship was crashing, he died. Like he didn't get him no more. Or like when the world collapsed and you was on the beach with I forget her name, Cecile, and she's trying to nurse this guy back to life.
I can bring out, because I don't use none of their names, because you can name each character. So I don't use none of their actual names in the game when I play it. Never. They all have whatever name I put.
Right. But she's nursing that guy back to health, and if he just dies, then he's out the game too. So it's like, there's different. And
then they got the hidden character, which a lot of people didn't know who he was.
Gao.
And no. I'm talking about the mimic guy.
The mimic guy.
The one with the red turban. He had don't tell me you never got him. All right.
He's hidden? I always got him.
Yeah, he's a hidden character because you don't have to go to that island ever. And you have to get eaten by the worm to find him.
I thought you had to do that. No. Honestly, I
don't have to go to that island ever.
Because
but do you know who he really is?
No, who
he is Gilgamesh.
Oh.
A lot of people don't realize that until later on when Final Fantasy, starts pushing out Gilgamesh everywhere. Right. He's a guy who basically, but he's a human.
Right.
He's a human. He mastered a bunch of different weapons and he collects them. Mm-hmm. And he became so powerful that he became a summon, which are like the gods of the world. Mm-hmm. But he started off as a human. Mm-hmm. The mimic guy has all the powers of everybody around him, basically. He can mimic their powers. And it turned out that he was supposed to be a representation of Gilgamesh.
Okay. I didn't even know that.
I thought that was
so
cool.
the reason why I thought that was, I didn't know that wasn't an optional, because I had a cousin who introduced me to the game. And I was kind of like, whatever. And actually, that was the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I saw the other ones, but they reminded me of Dragon Warrior. And I was like, I played Dragon Warrior, so I don't need to play that one. So, right, yeah, you remember Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's a bite. They're biting. So I was like, I'm not even going to touch that. So when he he actually brought the game in the house. We were playing it. I'm watching him play. And I'm like, yo, this game looks. I was like, yo, let me borrow it. He's like, yeah, go ahead. He's like, yo, just give it back to me when you're done with it. And I didn't give it back to him. I think I don't even know what I did with the game, but I never ended up giving it back to him because he didn't even care. He never asked me for it. He literally just came over. He was it was my cousin. He was living in Japan at the time with his stepfather who was stationed over there, and he was the one that told me about like Dragon Ball Z and all this stuff. And he was like, yo, I got this game. I want to play it. I'm like, bet, just put it in and be sitting there.
Where I'm from, I had to literally learn about nerd stuff on my own because I live in a not very nice neighborhood growing up in the 80s. My neighborhood was really, really, really bad. And being a nerd wasn't considered a good thing.
Yeah, of course.
I want everybody to know that I feel like being a nerd is awesome. Be who you want to be, whether it's a nerd, a jock, or whatever. As long as you're not hurting anybody, doesn't matter.
That's right.
So even when I was younger, growing up, playing video games, people would walk over to me from my neighborhood and they'd be like, yo, Vin, I heard you got the new blah, blah, blah system. What games you got? I would tell them I had reading games because it would make them not want to borrow them.
Right, yeah. You told me.
They're considered RPGs, but I would say RPG and nobody would know what that meant. So I started saying they were reading games because if you think about it, they're games where you do a lot of reading. They probably thought I was talking about like educational games, but I'm talking about like RPGs.
Actually cool games. You played them. No, seriously.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you this question. So who do you think would win in a fight between the Hulk and Superman?
Which Hulk? Are we talking about comic book Hulk or are we talking about movie Hulk? Because movie Hulk will get his ass whooped.
Okay.
But comic book Hulk, because Planet Hulk, the actual comic, World Breaker Hulk, would break Superman in half and eat the entrails. Like,
okay. Is that your favorite comic, by the way?
Not really. I don't really know if I have a favorite comic book hero.
But not favorite comic book hero, but favorite comic book story is what I meant.
I love that. That is definitely my favorite Hulk story.
Okay.
I can't really say whether it's my favorite story. It probably is, but there's so many out there that I don't want to just put it all on that one right now.
Okay.
But that story was definitely a really good one. The Illuminati sent him away, found out he was alive, killed everybody. He got mad, came back, killed everybody back.
Okay. So I'm gonna say a couple of phrases, and you either answer MCU or DCU. Okay? So I'm gonna say a couple phrases to you, and you say MCU or DCU. Okay. So you ready?
Most of the time.
Okay. So that's what she said.
MCU.
All right. Movies.
MCU.
Animation.
DCU.
Comics.
MC.
Okay. Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the comics more. If we're going by my opinion, I'm going to go by my opinion.
No.
I'm not a huge DC fan, but right now the animes, they got it.
Oh, yeah.
They got it hands down. They also got the TV shows, because if that was one you was about to say,
I was about to say
that's definitely going to be DC. But Disney Plus looks like it's going to be MC in a little while.
Marvel's coming hard. They're really. If you were building your army of villains,
Doctor Doom.
And you had to pick three.
Doctor Doom.
All three?
No, one.
You had to pick one for your front line, one as your sergeant, and one as your right hand.
Doctor Doom's the right hand.
Okay.
Front line. Galactus.
Reap, what's going on?
Front line Galactus. Get up in there.
I guess he is Kevin.
He puts the world eater on the front line. Okay.
Yeah. Because if they get past him.
Okay. There's only one person that ever got past Galactus.
My man Dr. Doom got the plan.
Okay.
So whoever's in the middle really don't matter. I could pick like Pikachu or somebody. It doesn't really matter. But
okay.
For
a little OD, little
So that's what we going
20 on the OD scale.
We're going
for
Galactus.
shits and giggles.
Going Galactus Pikachu.
I'm thinking about a third one. Give me a second.
You don't even have to at this point. Honestly, you don't have to.
Killmonger.
Okay, Killmonger is your from the movie.
From the movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, as your middle guy.
Yes, my
so you got
middle
Galactus as your front line.
I thought it was, Pikachu.
And by the time you get past Galactus, you're so out of breath that you're basically begging Killmonger to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a good plan.
He just gets another mark.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so two last questions, and then we out of here.
I mean, I could have picked death, but I didn't want to go that far.
Let's just move on.
I didn't want to go that far.
You just killed the activity. You put Galactus on the front. Who the hell does that?
Is that usually the one? Like, okay,
right? Yeah.
not get past him.
Yeah. Right?
Nah.
He's like, nah, get past him.
Yeah.
I don't want
Right.
to
You're like
past
this.
anybody.
Like, okay. I guess we're dead. Guess this is never happening. So, being one of the stars of FYC the show.
Yes.
What do you hope what do you hope comes out of this project and what comes out of this movement? Because obviously there's a small movement. I mean, it's only been live for not even 3 months, and there's already it's a following that's gaining every day, every week. Even when I'll look a day or two and I'm like, oh, we lost 2 or 3 people. Then I'll look again and we gained 5 people, and I'm like, wow, like, and it's like, like the
Shout out to everybody who supports us, man. We
Definitely.
appreciate it. We definitely do. My views on this is basically this. I want to show the world that you can be a nerd without looking the part. Like, you don't want to judge people by what they look like, because sometimes you see somebody with glasses and you're like, oh, you're a nerd because you got a book. You never know. And people look at me, I'm 6'4", 200 and whatever pounds, and they usually think, like, if I wear all black, people ask me if I'm a security guard.
What'd you say?
Do they taste like blueberries? But like, because I'm big, people assume that, they assume wrong things about me. Like, they assume I'm violent because I'm big. That's far from the truth. I
never initiated.
One of the things I love the most is making people laugh.
Okay.
Like, I love making people laugh. I hate when somebody I care about or somebody who's around me is upset, because it makes it, like, I feel like it's my responsibility to try to cheer them up.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it. Like, I always want people around me to be happy and, entertained or whatever. So, people look at me and they see one thing, but I'm like almost the polar opposite of what people would assume.
So, last question, and then we're up out of here. Who is Vinnybronco? Who is he? Who
I feel like we kind of touched on that a little bit. I'm a fat dude who likes to make people laugh.
Okay.
I use words in different definitions. Like, I'll call myself fat, and people are like, you're not fat. You're just tall. When I say I'm fat, I don't mean I'm fat like I'm 700 pounds.
Right.
I don't use the word fat when I'm talking about somebody who is 700 pounds or whatever.
Right.
I call myself fat because I enjoy eating. So I use words that people don't like, and I use them in different ways and make it more fun. I do stuff like that, and it's not just that word. It's other words I use. There's a whole lot of things that I say. Some things that I say people take offensively, but I never mean it the way people take it, because I use the words differently from what the mainstream world uses them for. So my inner circle knows what they mean. But you guys at home and other people in the street might not know what it means. I don't really mean to offend people. I know I do, because I say things that people think and don't want to say.
Yeah, like, I'm not retarded. Don't never call me that.
I try not to use the word,
Yeah.
the R word here for the show. Like when I say it, I don't mean it towards the people who are handicapped or with special needs. I'm saying it about people who make a choice to do something stupid.
Right.
Like you have the common sense,
capacity,
you
yeah.
have the capacity to do the right thing,
Without a doubt.
but yet
Without a doubt.
you still are.
You're still gonna make a really dumb choice.
Yeah, bro. like repercussion. When he woke up this morning, he looked like that. You saw what he looked like. Come on, guys.
I chose it.
He made that choice. You can't tell me that wasn't a bad decision. Nah.
Well,
Repercussion is all love. You know, I'm just teasing. This is what I do, man. I make fun of my friends. I make fun of myself at times, man. You got to keep everything light. You got to.
that's true.
If you don't laugh,
It's very true.
why are you here?
Right.
Like every day, you should laugh and smile and something.
Right. It's very true. Very
They say
true.
every day you should learn something new. I feel like every day you should learn something new, but you should also laugh.
Definitely.
At least once a day, no matter what's going on in your life. Like right now, my mother's in and out of the hospital. She's going through a whole lot of illnesses and things like that, but I'm still here. I'm still laughing. I'm still hanging out with my friends. Obviously, I care. I call her, talk to her, whatever. But, like, you can't let anything around you hold you down. You got to keep your head up, fight through it. She's going to get better. And I'm going to continue to laugh. If I'm sitting there miserable while she's sick, it's going to make her miserable. As long as she sees that this show is still going on, that we're still happy, we're still here, she's going to be happy. She's going to feel better. She's going to get better.
That's right. That's right. All right.
I'm a big mama's boy, by the way. Like,
And on that note,
on that note, what we going to do? We going to get up out of here now? You going to kick me out, man. I'm sorry, guys.
on that note, I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank Vinnybronco for
Vinnybronco.
sharing himself and sharing his views.
I wear my heart on my sleeve, baby.
All right, beautiful. And
Sleeves.
Shit. I got a little heart. I got the heart of a goldfish.
at Vinnybronco,
And one too.
at Vinnybronco, at Just Heck, brought to you in part by people who make bad decisions. You're dumb. And we're out of here. Take care. Have a good one.